Let me address the Secretary Powell issue. Here's some important differences. First of all, the Inspector General, who we rely on heavily, was able to go back and speak with the former Secretaries of State, except Hillary Clinton, who refused to be engaged with the Inspector General. In Secretary Clinton's case, this is the only case that I'm aware of where there has been an accusation of a destruction of documents that were under subpoena. Mr. Comey, the FBI director, came and testified before this committee that they didn't look at any of the comments that Secretary Clinton gave under oath. And I would also point back to the January letter of this year where we asked the State Department to look back 15 years, not just picking on one, but 15 years, which is a long, I think, exceptionally long time, but looking back, and certainly emails have changed. And finally, I would just suggest that I think there are legitimate concerns about retroactive classifications, over-redactions, those types of things. And I'm pleased to report to the committee, because I think Mr. Cummings has some legitimate concerns, that we're going to get a chance to question those people on Monday. That's why we're doing the hearing. It is an embarrassment that the unclassified documents that are residing in the SCIF, unclassified, are only able to be reviewed by members of this committee, the Appropriations and Judicial Committee. If you reside in another committee and are a member of Congress, you are prohibited by this administration from looking at unclassified documents. I don't know how to explain that, and I think it's absolutely wrong. Mr. Finney, you are on the front lines. I know the management team at the State Department didn't want you to be here because we had to issue a subpoena to be here, and I don't take that as you in your personal capacity making that decision. But nevertheless, we're glad that you're here. You have been in this position since 2006. You didn't ask for this. I'm very sympathetic to the idea. You haven't testified before Congress. All I ask you to do is just be truthful, tell us the way you saw it, what happened, and we will do everything we can to make sure that you get your story and your version of what happened out there. When did you first know that there was a problem? Just go ahead and move this microphone up close, and there you go.
First of all, sir, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come forward. I've always wanted to speak the truth. At this particular situation in the comfort zone in this area is different.
Sure. So go ahead. When did you first know there was a problem?
I noticed a problem as far as with records.
Yes, with Secretary Clinton, yes, in her records.
The first time I noticed a problem, when you look at that, is basically when we noted that we had received some documents. There was initially a letter that went out, and once we had started receiving documents from Secretary Clinton, that's when we realized.
When was that?
I couldn't tell you the specific date.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect you to get the exact day of the week, but roughly when was that?
I couldn't tell you the exact time. I just know that when we had actually started receiving the actual documents.
Was that after she had left?
Yes, sir.
Did you raise any concerns prior to that? Any questions about did she have a .gov account? Ms. Lang evidently said in a deposition that you did. Do you raise concerns?
Yes, sir. The concern was, and basically was that when she came on board, you know, they asked the question, will she have a state.gov account? And I was told she would not. And also, that was something that was not uncommon because the secretary prior to her did not have a state.gov account. And also the secretary prior to that previous secretary did not have a state.gov.
So the fact that you weren't getting any records from Hillary Clinton, did you ever raise that question, that concern? Were you told to, what did they tell you to say or not say about that?
No one told me anything to say or not say. Again, because she didn't have a state.gov account, that was something that was not abnormal because previous secretaries did not have state.gov accounts. The records that we were receiving were placed into our repository, which is the Secretary Tracking and Retrieval System.
But you got the Secretary Clinton dump of 55,000 pages almost 2 years after she left, correct?
You could say that, not knowing the exact time frame, sir. I just said, yes, we did receive them.
Okay, I believe that was December 5th of 2014 when Mrs. Clinton, Secretary Clinton, returned 55,000 pages of emails. Has the State Department after December 5th, 2014, has the department received any additional Hillary Clinton work emails that were federal records?
After the 55,000, that's what you're saying
Yes.
specifically?
Yes.
Recently, my office was involved in some records that they had just recently received. But in that particular case, the only purpose that I was involved with was really just looking at the records, seeing if they were personal or work-related. And that was the reason why we got involved in that process, because the department was receiving so many records and the staffing was lacking.
So, Ms. Lang, how many records did the State Department receive after December 5th, 2014?
I'm sorry, can you be more specific? Are you talking about from Secretary Clinton, from other former employees?
No, I'm talking specifically about Hillary Clinton work emails that were federal records. How many did you get after December 5th?
The Federal Bureau of Investigation has transferred a number of documents to the State Department.
And what
which
is
are
that
still-
number? Do you know the number?
Those are still undergoing a records review.
Was it 17,448?
My office in the Executive Secretariat staff is not leading that effort. I would
So who
defer
is?
that
Who
question.
knows this number? Ambassador Kennedy?
Mr. Chairman, we've received a number of disks from the FBI. We are in the process of inputting them into our classified analysis system and counting them. And we know of 14,900 odd documents, and the FBI has mentioned that there could be tens of thousands others in the string of disks that we're processing now.
And all of those came after December 5th, 2014?
All of those, Mr. Chairman, were received within the last month.
Ambassador Kennedy, on May 22nd, 2015, you asked, as the representative of the State Department, you asked Secretary Clinton's attorney, David Kendall, for an electronic copy of the 55,000 pages of emails. When did Secretary Clinton provide the electronic copy to you?
Intervening in that thing, Mr. Chairman, the FBI then took possession of all the electronic material that Mr. Kendall had, to the best of my knowledge.
So did Secretary Clinton fulfill your request to return the federal records via electronic format?
The Secretary Clinton's attorney, to the best of my knowledge, provided that electronic material to the FBI.
Or it was seized, one of the two. But I'm asking, it's kind of embarrassing that you had to ask them to return it in electronic format. They went and printed all this stuff out and gave you a hard copy. So did they ever give you an electronic copy per your request?
To the best of my understanding, Mr. Chairman, they no longer have an electronic copy because it's in the possession of the FBI.
Because it was seized, right? Yeah. So, and you have since asked the FBI to turn over that?
We have asked the FBI to provide us with any material that they have in their possession that may be federal records. As I mentioned a moment ago, Mr. Chairman, they have provided us with a number of disks. We are loading that system, those disks, into our electronic system so then that we can, first of all, disaggregate the time periods, because there are potentially records there prior to when she was Secretary of State and after when she was Secretary of State. Secondly, because this is their recoveries from her servers, there could be material in there which are federal records and material which are not federal records, so we have to disaggregate those, and then we will process all the federal records as we would do for any federal record.
So what number are you up to now, do you know?
As I said, right now we're up to 14,900 documents that we are reviewing in both the two stages of disaggregation first.
Okay. Well, last question. I've exceeded my time, but how do I get Hillary Clinton's calendars? Why does that take so long? The original FOIA request came in 2010, and you're arguing in court that you still can't get it done by the end of the year. A judge has had to intervene to force you to produce calendars. How difficult is a calendar? Who's in charge of that, by the way?
Mr. Chairman, when we have 30, 1,000 FOIA requests pending. We also have requirements under statute to do what is called historical declassification, in which we have moved 26 million pages in the last 5 years.
Okay, wait. All I'm trying to talk about is Hillary Clinton's emails, or Hillary Clinton's calendars. I would like to see, as chairman of the Oversight Committee, I would like to see Hillary Clinton's calendars. When can you provide that to me?
I will find a time and get back. I will find when that is and get back to you.
When will you get back to me by? The end of, by Tuesday?
By Tuesday, I can give you an idea when that information might be available. If I might, sir, the AP request was actually, for the calendars, was actually part of a larger swath of 6 FOIA requests that were engaged in.
Okay.
And if I might, one other thing, a point that I think is relevant here and also addresses a point that Ranking Member Cummings made, is that the way the law is constructed now, we are required to produce in response to a FOIA request within 20 days. Given the volume of requests, given the complexity of requests, given the classified material, given our other statutory document requests for the Foreign Relations Series, the historical declassification, there is simply no way, Mr. Chairman, that I can deal with every government agency and 275 posts within 20 days. That is simply a physical impossibility. That's why we're being sued, because I cannot, literally, unless I turn the entire State Department off of every national security mission it had and put it exclusively on FOIA. Now, eventually, I would produce no new documents, and I wouldn't have a FOIA problem. But there is a true resource, time, and other issues that have to be dealt with here, sir.
So, just to be clear, I would like to know how many different versions of calendars Hillary Clinton has, and I'd like to know when you can provide to this committee her calendars while she was serving as Secretary of State. And you'll get back to me in roughly a week. Is that fair?
I can get back to you with a report on how our processing is coming. Yes, sir, because what we were doing for all these FOIA requests, we were treating
My
them all
request is not a
equally.
FOIA request, okay? So I understand I don't understand the FOIA part, but I'm just asking you.
I understand fully. I think this becomes the 24th request that this committee has made of us in the last year, and we've already produced.
That's not
like
bad.
108. We've already provided this committee with 185,000 pages of documents, and we will continue to work with this committee to provide more.
Thank you. We now recognize